classic highlights and graphics, blue referee shirts, GM Teddy Long, Michael Cole in a Canadian tuxedo, Vince McAfee, and a digital fisting for everyone. Hey there everyone, Rick Ucchino here for Sportskeeda Wrestling once again, and I think it's safe to say that WWE delivered on the nostalgia last night, even if it was a weird hodgepodge of throwbacks instead of just honoring the rich history of Friday night or Tuesday night or Thursday night SmackDown specifically. Still though, I think they delivered. What about the rest of the show? Let's get into it, shall we? Here is the good, the bad, and the ugly of the throwback edition of Friday Night SmackDown. We, as always, will start with the good, and finally, I said finally, Jimmy Uso is back. The six-time tag team champion returned after more than a year on the shelf, and it went down just like everyone thought it would, right? He hugged his brother, acknowledged the tribal chief, and fell right in line to set up this big bloodline power group. Nope.
Houston, we have a problem.
Jimmy Uso ain't no bitch, he said. Not only did he not fall in line, but he cost Seth Rollins his match against Cesaro, meaning that Roman Reigns has to defend his Universal Championship at WrestleMania Backlash against the Swiss Cyborg. Jimmy then spent the entire night trying to divide his brother Jay from Reigns and Paul Heyman, calling them out basically for everything that they have forced his brother to do over the last several months. The entire show was built around this all of a sudden very dysfunctional family, and it was absolutely glorious. Not only were all of the segments very well done, but they set up so many options. By the end of the night, we did not know if Jimmy Uso was going to acknowledge the tribal chief or not. It looked as though he was going to be walking away from his family, but Cesaro attacked, and he ended up fighting alongside them.
Nice.
Again, so many options here, especially when you add Seth Rollins into the mix, who told Roman to handle his family or he would. So, are we getting Seth versus Jimmy down the line? How about Roman versus Jimmy? What about Roman versus Seth? What if Jay breaks away from the tribal chief and we get 2/3 of the Shield going up against the Usos? Or what about Jay Uso versus Jimmy Uso? When those two were arguing backstage, I couldn't help but think back to what Jay Uso told me back in March.
My favorite dream match though ever would be against my brother. You know, I want to showcase the whole world what we can do. You know, like, man, there's twins, bro. There's two of them in there. Like, come on, those.
So, yeah, we might be heading there, or hell, we might be doing it all. They have an extraordinary opportunity here to build up Jimmy now the same way that they did Jay. In the end, though, I do expect the Usos will align themselves with Roman as a team, and what a boost that is going to be for the entire SmackDown Tag Team division as the rest of those boys now find themselves locked in the Uso penitentiary. Also, not to be overlooked here, but congratulations to Cesaro. After years of busting his butt, he is finally getting a one-on-one world title opportunity, or at least his first since 2013 when he took on Alberto Del Rio for the World Heavyweight Championship, and that was at a house show, and the match ended in a disqualification. The bad this week, due to a lack of options, because this honestly was a very, very good show, I've got to go with King Corbin pinning Shinsuke Nakamura in the Teddy Long 10-man tag team match. That's a lot of T's. Anyway, the entire match, while extremely fun and very chaotic at times, was built around Big E, Apollo Crews, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. Those four men, they have found their rivalries intertwining in recent weeks. Did I use that correctly? Intertwining? I don't know. I don't care. I'm gonna move on. This all seems to be building to some kind of big blow-off match, presumably for the Intercontinental Championship. So it seems weird that none of them were involved in the finish of the match. None of them really gained anything here. Instead, you have King Corbin, who hasn't been on TV in weeks, pin Shinsuke Nakamura. Not sure what that accomplishes other than keeping Nakamura buried on the depth chart. Also, one other thing. No Aleister Black, this week? What happened to chapter 3 of this strange father-son bonding story? Maybe it was cut so we could squeeze in some more classic highlights. I don't know, and I don't like that the Aleister vignette was omitted this week. It just does not make any sense to me. And finally, the ugly this week. You gave me a great carrot there, WWE. You dangled it right in front of my face. You gave me a fresh matchup of seldom used women's stars in Ruby Riott and Carmella. I was reaching for it. I wanted it. It was going to be so good when I got it. And then you yanked the carrot away last second when you only gave them a 2-minute match. To make things worse, we had to watch Reginald flip around the ring later on that night in a match against Tamina that ended in a disqualification. Seriously? What's the point of the DQ? You couldn't have Tamina beat Reggie? Seriously? Why couldn't she just squash him in 10 seconds? That would have had more of an impact. The important part of what happened last night was the extracurricular beatdown of Natalya and Tamina, setting up the women's tag title match next Friday. You could have done all of that in a backstage segment that took half the time. Then you could have at least given Carmella and Ruby a 5-minute or a 6-minute match instead. Focus less on Reggie, please, and put more of a spotlight on the ladies. I'm begging you. That's our video this time around. Make sure to give us the old thumbs up there. Also, make sure to subscribe to the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel for more content like this, plus exclusive interviews. Got one up with Mansoor right now. Also, you'll find a very hilarious 20-minute conversation with former WWE Champion Drew McIntyre as he joined myself and Kevin Kellum in the first episode of the Inside Cradle, coming out now every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to check that out again on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel and on our Facebook page.